You're alive! Maria, I thought that thing killed you. Are you hurt bad?
Not at all, silly.
Maria? That thing, it stabbed you. There was blood everywhere.
Stabbed me? What do you mean?
It chased us to the elevator, and then...
James, what are you talking about?
Just before. Don't you remember?
Previously on Traipsing Through Silent Hill 2.
Killing a person ain't no big deal. Just put the gun to their head. Pow!
Will you hold it for me?
Sure. No problem.
If I kept it, I'm not sure what I might do.
All I want from you is an answer.
Things get very dark very quickly in today's episode, so there is a content warning for the following time code. There is a pretty explicit conversation to have regarding rape that features prominently in a secondary character's story arc. With that formal warning out of the way, allow me to greet you most thoroughly, Traipser. It is I, Jonathan Charles Bruce, functioning as one of the least trustworthy psychologists in the world. Before we head on into the darkness, we're going to take a moment to watch the Attract trailer of the game. This movie plays if you wait long enough at the title screen. You may be wondering why I didn't put this in the very first episode. That question should be answered within about 5 seconds.
James, honey, did something happen to you? After we got separated in that long hallway? Are you confusing me with someone else? You were always so forgetful. Remember that time in the hotel?
Maria?
You said you took everything, but you forgot that videotape we made. I wonder if it's still there.
How do you know about that? Aren't you Maria?
Taping again? Come on. I don't know why, but I just love it here. It's so peaceful. You know what I heard? This whole area used to be a sacred place. I think I can see why. It's too bad we have to leave. Please promise you'll take me again, James. I don't look like a ghost, do I?
Anyway, I'm glad you're alive.
Anyway? What do you mean, anyway? You don't sound very happy to see me. I was almost killed back there. Why didn't you try to save me? All you care about is that dead wife of yours. I've never been so scared in my whole life.
Lost?
Just like that stupid dog. He had it coming too.
Eddie, you can't just kill someone because of the way they looked at you.
I don't know. Maybe I did.
What's a little girl like you doing here anyway?
Huh? Are you blind or something?
Oh, it's you.
Just put the gun to their head.
I am. If you want me to be.
So, what about Laura? Did you find her?
Yeah, but she ran away.
We've got to find her.
for you, James. See? I'm real.
So as much as I love the music in this video, this cuts right to a core problem with the first two games in the series. They really have no idea how to play their cards close to their chest. At the end of the day, when we meet Maria, I'm pretty sure we're not supposed to think that, outside of coincidence, she and Mary have something directly in common. After all, the moment in the Labyrinth is the only time she displays any memory of Mary. Well, if you let the game idle, it plays one of the most important cutscenes from the game and completely undermines itself. Not only that, but it shows off Eddie's heel turn moment. It's like the developers were just so excited that they didn't spend a single minute thinking how this might negatively impact their own story. And if you think that this might be a fluke, longtime Traipsers will remember that the first game opened with this shot. Harry not being blood related to his missing daughter was presented as some kind of major twist about 90% of the way through the game. But one of the first things the game shows you is him picking up a baby off the side of the road with his wife in attendance. There are literally only two interpretations of this scene. One, Harry and his wife stumbled on an abandoned road baby. 2, Harry dropped his child and is surprised to find it mostly undamaged. Although you have to wait to see it, there's a good chance the average player could have just blundered into this and spoiled one of the major reveals of the game. If it wasn't a major reveal, why is Maria even here? Why did she bother with the fake out? Why wasn't she all, hey, let's bone, come find me? It extends even further than that, of course. Remember how I didn't throw Laura's bio on your screen because it spoiled something? Yeah, the fucking manual tells you that Laura knew Mary because they were at the same hospital. Why would they tell us that? Did they think we were too stupid to get it, when Laura literally tells us that exact information? I have a couple of theories regarding this ham-fistedness. Perhaps they realized that the first game's plot was a rushed mess of underexplained cretinous bullshit, and they wanted to address that by reiterating key elements. Another idea is that they thought that we, the players, were idiots, so they wanted us to totally get where they were coming from. My primary guess, though, is that the people on staff had a good idea for a pretty interesting story, but absolutely no one had any clue on how to actually write the damn thing. In any case, we have a labyrinth to continue stumbling through, so let's get back to that, shall we? First things first, we're going to equip the Great Knife to prove that it's not nearly as heavy as James pretends it is. That'll, take a while. But we discover that the hallway is plastered with newspapers from today, which is, neat, I guess?
Daddy, please don't!
This is the memory of Angela's father. To James, this is a creature with a body meant to be indicative of two people sexually entwined underneath a sheet. There's a strong indication that, from Angela's anguished plea on top of literally everything else we know about the things going on in this garbage town, the quote-unquote sex that James sees is not at all consensual. There is also the firmly established disconnect between the two characters' relationship with the creature. Angela clearly sees her father, who we can assume is the Thomas we just read about in today's paper, while James perceived a generalized anxiety of horrifying, violent sex on top of an ambulatory bed. The beast has two mouths, one at the head of what I assume to be the lower figure being raped by the hunched upper body, and a second on the underside of the thing's chest. It attacks by grasping James's shoulders and sucking on his skull with the chest mouth. The secret to this fight is to equip the shotgun and run to the side of this tiny, gross, flesh-covered room and fire twice to stagger it. You then run to the other corner and repeat, making sure to reload only through the menu. It's really hard to escape getting hit in this fight. This creature's attack basically sucks you into it and your timing has to be spot on. If you get greedy or don't stun it when you try to run by, you're taking a hit, because like every other terrible boss room thus far, there's absolutely no room to do anything other than get your teeth knocked in.
Are you okay?
Angela, relax.
Don't order me around!
I'm not trying to order you.
So what do you want then? Oh, I see. You're trying to be nice to me, right? I know what you're up to. It's always the same. You're only after one thing.
No, that's not true at all.
You don't have to lie. Go ahead and say it. Or you could just force me. Beat me up like you always did. You only care about yourself anyway. You disgusting pig.
Angela.
Don't touch me! You make me sick. You said your wife Mary was dead, right?
Yes. She was ill.
Liar! I know about you. You didn't want her around anymore. You probably found someone else.
That's ridiculous. I never...
I really don't have too much to add to this scene. Sure, there's the bad voice acting.
You said your wife Mary was dead, right?
But everything is pretty straightforward. Angela was raped by her father, and she killed him. She ran to Silent Hill because of that vague calling thing that it does. I guess the problem that we run into is why exactly did Silent Hill call her? Angela is clearly a survivor of horrible abuse, and isolating her for some kind of psychological torment, especially one where her attacker is alive and returning to visit upon her even more horror, is atrocious. We have only one more scene with Angela, and it will kind of, I do emphasize kind of, address this, but that is only if we take what I said about the tablet puzzle in Toluca Prison as being an accurate interpretation. I truly don't want the reality of the situation to be that James or the developers think Angela deserved punishment for this. Murder may be a crime, but self-preservation isn't. So, when James sees the nightmare reality, it's clear that he sees a world that is run down, full of standing water and just general decrepitness. When Angela sees the nightmare reality, perhaps she sees these fleshy walls. That's pretty gross, but effective world building. Why is it that the only newspapers that we've come across are either ancient enough to whine about or today's edition? How is James not questioning the apparent space-time destroying delivery capability of Silent Hill's press? Oh, hey everybody! Didn't you get the noose? Loitering is illegal here. You're gonna have to come down and stop hanging about. So these corpses have crimes written on their face post-it notes. We have swindling, kidnapping, murder, thievery, arson, and assault, or, if you have no idea what crime is, bodily injury. Let's keep that order in mind, shall we? Even though it's certainly not a hard puzzle, I think that this little brain teaser absolutely nailed it in terms of its connection to the theme of the game: innocence and guilt, crime and punishment. Everything about this just feels right. Alright, so we have a warning letting us know not to fuck up the puzzle. That wondrously strange prize, if we screw up, is just a squad of taffy men that get spawned into the hallway. On hard difficulty though, I do think it's a second memory of Thomas, but I'm not gonna go running back to check. We're gonna have to figure out who the innocent man was. In order to do that, we have to walk through the mentions of all the other crimes. After the opening fluff, we get what appears to be a section with just more general atmosphere building. Despite it having way more lines than the other clues, however, this presents us with our first guilty party. Bloodstains mean guilt, and you get that with murder. Next up, we have white bandages stained with blood, which is assault. Why not murder? Well, why the hell would you bandage a corpse, you mummy-making dipshit? We get scorched earth and a guilty arsonist, along with whispered cries of a kidnapped woman. Finally, we have the dismissive, meaningless contract. I believe someone was conned, which I guess means that this town gives the death penalty for con artists. Okay. Actually, that would have made the ending to the Music Man a lot better. Huh. Sorry. Anyway, unmentioned is theft, which means that some poor schmuck was executed by Silent Hill's bloodthirsty and tremendously stupid residents. With that in mind, we find the noose that corresponds to the not a thief's corpse and lower it, solving the puzzle. I believe that which corpse does what shifts between every single game to prevent players from just breezing through this area. The Hanged Man poem is also significantly different on other difficulty levels. It's a shame that the best iteration of it is on normal mode, but I can always just read that to you right now. Dead men, swinging in a tree. How many dead men do you see? Tongue turned blue and face gone gray, watch them as they twist and sway. The first one killed the butcher man, then cooked him in the frying pan, served him to his hungry guests, and gave them seconds on request. The next one, with his smile and sweets, stole poor children off the streets. To men who dressed unsavory, he sold them into slavery. Breaking into a home at night, the thief he had a nasty fright. Filled his foolish head with ale, woke in the morn in the county jail. The artist with his daunting skills tried his hand at painting bills, but caught in rain he was undone when the ink he'd used did start to run. With promises of great return, taking gold he did not earn, bundled it up out of sight, quietly slipped off into the night. 3 houses into ash burned, the sheriff with no place to turn, did spy a stranger to his town, locked him up and beat him down. Dead men, swinging in a tree. How many dead men do you see? 6 feet long and 6 men wide. Round their necks the noose be tied. Bad poetry, but great fucking puzzle. Also, the key to the exit was a handcuff key. That's pretty cool.
Maria? Maria? Maria, no! What happened to you? Why? Why?
Oh no, Maria, not again. She had so much potential and was a deeply nuanced character that I hate to see die. Outside of the fact that I have no fucking clue what the hell happened to her face, Maria's death just seems to serve to continue James's torment. I mean, he comes in, sees that she's dead, mourns, and leaves. What more is there to this? She is the first dead body whose face we see clearly. That's kind of interesting. In all previous scenes with corpses, their faces are either obscured by taffy goo or camera work. I wonder if that's significant. Other interesting points, room 208 clearly has some morbid significance, and James phased through the fucking wall for him to be standing there. That does beg the question as to why they just wouldn't move the door, but I'm sure there's some deep symbolic reason for it. If you try to return to the room, James just says there's nothing there for him anymore, so I guess what we do now is, oh. Convenient. Silent Hill is kinda weird. Graveyard. Underground. You know, people are just dying to get in here. I have a feeling that Miriam K was someone on the development team's ex. I guess we should be lucky it wasn't Miriam K, cheating monster and destroyer of my heart. Walter. God, what a stupid name for a serial killer. Glad that's the last time I'm gonna have to mention it, right? Oh, well, that's ominous. Wait a minute. Didn't we see a gravestone with James's name on it somewhere else? I could have... Holy shit, subtlety! That's right, in the very first interaction with another character, the game tells us that James is effectively a dead man walking. Well, at least with the widescreen patch. Oh boy, another hole, another exciting jump. Or not. Fine. Whatever. Well, this is, ominous.
Eddie, what are you doing?
What does it look like? He always busted my balls. You fat, disgusting piece of shit. You make me sick. Fat ass, you're nothing but a waste of skin. You're so ugly, even your mama don't love you. Well, maybe he was right. Maybe I am nothing but a fat, disgusting piece of shit. But you know what? It doesn't matter if you're smart, dumb, ugly, pretty. It's all the same once you're dead.
And the corpse can't laugh.
From now on, if anyone makes fun of me, I'll kill him. Just like that.
Eddie, have you gone nuts?
James? Buddy? Really not the best comment to be making to an armed man who has just killed several people.
I knew it. You too.
You're just like him, James.
Hey, I didn't mean anything.
Don't bother. I understand. You've been laughing at me all along, haven't you? Ever since we first met. I'll kill you, James!
What the hell is it with this town and people's inability to fucking shoot straight?
Hold it!
Oh shit. Eddie. Eddie has decided that James is the enemy and is now aiming to add air conditioning to our protagonist's head. Although every bullet is highly damaging, we can swallow a couple of them before needing to heal. This fight really boils down to trading blows with Eddie. Fighting with anything other than the shotgun is just not recommended. The pistol won't really stagger him, the rifle is way too unwieldy, and most melee weapons are not going to allow you to stun him before he perforates you several times.
Do you know what it does to you, James? When you're hated, picked on, spit on, just because of the way you look, after you've been laughed at your whole friggin' life. That's why I ran away after I killed the dog. Ran away like a scared little girl. Yeah, I killed that dog. It was fun. It tried to chew its own guts out. Finally died all curled up in a ball. Then he came after me. I shot him too, right in the leg. He cried more than the dog. He's gonna have a hard time playing football on what's left of that knee.
You think it's okay to kill people? You need help, Eddie.
Don't get all holy on me, James. This town called you too. You and me are the same. We're not like other people. Don't you know that? Let's party!
This part of the fight can be cheesed if you just take a step to the right. Eddie will try to punch you, and will hit the meat instead. You know what clips right through the meat, though? Our shotgun shells. When Eddie takes a certain threshold of damage, though, he'll attempt to flee and hide behind the racks of meat. He's basically just waiting for you to wander in front of him so he can cap you, but he'll just attempt to run away if you approach from behind. It's not the best plan. Also, the meat in here totally looks like it's wearing Eddie's shorts, doesn't it? So, I guess we've wandered into Eddie's nightmare reality. That's pretty cool. I think it also reinforces the idea that Silent Hill is more concerned about how the individuals see themselves than how others do. Hold up there, Eddie. One of the things that I really hate about Silent Hill 2 is the fact that this fight seems very much so designed simply to drain you of your resources. In fact, nearly all the bosses thus far are. They place you in a tiny room where getting hit is almost an inevitability, and a monster with maybe 1 or 2 attacks and just a preposterous amount of health to whittle through. Eddie's fight is the worst offender by a mile. Thematically speaking, of course, it could suggest something powerful. Angela and James are actively fighting against Silent Hill's psychological proddings, resisting and possibly rejecting the things it is trying to reveal to them. Eddie gazes into the abyss and not only survives, but concludes that he is actually completely and utterly blameless. As such, the town basically turns him into some kind of ultra serial killer, rewarding him for indulging in his basest instincts. It would work much better, though, if this game handled combat semi-competently. Instead of what I feel was meant to be this crescendo moment where Eddie becomes something infinitely more and less than human, we just basically get a boring slugfest that's soul-saving grace is the environment alone. But what happens when Silent Hill's newest avatar of punishment meets someone unwilling to put up with that shit and happens to have the Nightmare Reality's executioner's favoritist kitchen utensil?
I'll kill you, James!
This is the only way to avoid taking damage in the first phase, getting really fucking lucky by running around Eddie like an asshole and tricking him into missing a shot.
Let's party!
So I kinda screwed up here and still need to heal, but it's the first time since the bug bite before Toluca Prison. All in all, the Murder Blade is the much better choice when confronting Eddie. Oh hey, his face is hidden. Neat.
Eddie? Eddie? I killed a human being. A human being. Mary. Did you really die 3 years ago?
James's anguish here is a really neat gut check. James never struck me as a bad guy. Maybe a bit brusque at times, but not mean or particularly violent except in instances of self-defense. Forcing him to kill another human being is pretty huge, all things considered. It'd be a lot more significant if, say, we hadn't done any wholesale monster murder up to this point, but whatever. Just because I'm right doesn't mean I get to go back in time and convince them to take 99% of the combat out of the game. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the longest and strongest dungeon in the game. Join me next time for some red-hot paddling action. See you then! On the next episode of Traipsing through Silent Hill 2.
Did I scare you?
Yeah, you did.